Eddie Hearn rips Teofimo Lopez for fighting Steve Claggett in his next fight on June 29th in Miami, Florida. It's not the biggest name opponent, but he's a solid dude. I mean, I understand where Eddie Hearn's coming from. You guys also have to realize, he's coming off a big win with Jack Catterall, obviously beating Josh Taylor, and Bob Arum went in the ring saying, "I'm never going to put a fighter in the UK, bring them there," and I gotta disagree with Bob here, just because I think Josh Taylor lost. I just think he's on that decline now after that Teofimo Lopez fight. Just not the same fighter anymore. Kind of did everything that he thought he was gonna do, and then from there was no more written for Josh Taylor. Maybe he's not done, but these performances that we've seen are kind of showing a little bit of a downfall for Josh Taylor. But going back to Teofimo Lopez, obviously coming off a great win against Josh Taylor, I'll agree with Eddie in terms of maybe this isn't the best fight for Teofimo Lopez in terms of promoting himself. We don't want to see Teo against Claggett. We want to see him against a guy like Tank. We want to see him against a guy like Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Subriel Matias, Isak Cruz. There are a lot of big names at 140 for sure, but it's all about the negotiation process and what he really has access to. Still kind of fighting on, for Top Rank, and still kind of fighting for ESPN, even though, despite their relationship being quite rocky. Teo has said stuff along the lines of, Top Rank only likes black fighters, and, he's not happy with ESPN. He wants to sign with another network and promotion company. He has his own promotion company, so it's all up to Teofimo Lopez in terms of what he wants to do in that scenario. But yeah, it's not the biggest fight in the world, but it's also kind of difficult to make a lot of these big fights happen when you're not on the same side of the street. I would really like to see Teofimo go up against Isak Cruz. I think that's a mega fight. Obviously, Isak Cruz is fighting Rayo, and that's going to be a good fight as well. But ultimately, I understand the frustration with everybody when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, because he's such an exciting fighter. He's an exciting character, and I think Teo, he's a tremendous fighter on his best day, but on his worst night, it's a difficult fight for him. It's a difficult time to watch him, because I also feel like it has to do with the matchups that he's gotten. Guys like Jermaine Ortiz, Sander Martin, those are tough fights stylistically for him, because Teofimo isn't really used to hunting for his food. I think he's so used to having guys come to him, and I think if he's not fighting a come-forward fighter, then it's a tough fight for him. It's not stylistically pleasing for Teofimo Lopez. So a guy like Isak Cruz, a guy like Rolly Romero, a guy like Subriel Matias, guys that are going to continue to throw punches and are high-volume punchers that are going to come forward, and they do have the ability to crack. Those are the kind of fights that I think that Teofimo should be fighting in, because it's stylistically appealing for him. You know what I mean? I don't think that Teofimo should try to fight guys like Devin, guys like Shakur. I think that those are tough fights for him. Still very winnable fights, but I think Teo should go for those guys like Subriel Matias, Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia, Isak Cruz, because those guys are come-forward fighters. They're not going to try to box you. Not to say that Teo's not a great boxer. I just think he's a great counter-puncher by nature, and I think that stylistically he needs someone to come to him, and he can't be going after other guys, or else it's kind of difficult for him. He's not the best at cutting off the ring, in my opinion, but I still think that Teo has the ability to beat guys like Shakur, has the ability to beat guys like Devin Haney, but I would like the matchups better against come-forward fighters, because, I really do think that Teofimo does his best work when guys are coming to him, and he's just, picking his shots, countering them, and he has a great defense when he's locked in. He turns into that showman where he has a lot of upper body movement, and it's hard to touch him with anything, and I like that version of Teofimo Lopez, the version of Teo against Josh Taylor, the version of Teo against Vasily Lomachenko. That's the kind of Teo we need to see on a consistent basis, and the key word is consistent. We're getting a different version of Teofimo depending on who his opposition is, and the natural counterpunchers aren't his best stylistic matchup for him. He has to fight guys that are coming forward to him so that he can do the counterpunching, and that's how boxing is. Styles make fights. So yeah, I like any of those big names for Teo, because obviously Teo has historically said that he's not happy with the pay that he gets at Top Rank, making a few millions of dollars here and there for being a relatively big name in the sport of boxing. I would say that Teofimo is definitely a big star in the sport. You know, I wouldn't say that he's on the level of Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Tank Davis, but Teo's definitely a star. So he said that he's not happy with the money that he's getting. I'd love to see him move over to potentially PBC and fight guys like Subriel Matias, fight guys like Isaac Cruz. Even though Matias signed with, you know, Matchroom, maybe they could still make that big fight happen. But I'd love to really see that fight, because ultimately, at the end of the day, there's a very few, not few, the 140-pound weight division is very talented right now. There's no doubt about that, but it's all a matter of, can you make the big fights happen? A side, B side, can we get rid of that? Can we get, you know, the best to fight the best by any means necessary? So if it takes a guy like Teofimo Lopez to fight a guy like Isaac Cruz, someone's gonna have to say, okay, I'm the B side in this one. But it's easier said than done, because Teofimo Lopez is such a draw. You have guys like Isaac Cruz, such a draw. I think against a guy like Subriel Matias, Teofimo would get paid more. He'd respectfully be the A side, and, you know, rightfully so. But I would really like to see Teo against some credible opposition. I'm not saying that he can't have a tune-up fight, you know, here and there, but ultimately, you know, we're trying to make these big fights happen in the sport of boxing. And if guys like Ryan Garcia fighting guys like Devin Haney, and, you know, obviously we're hearing about Canelo and David Benavidez, in the midst of all these big fights, you know, being made, you have to have your name against another big name, or else no one's really going to want to see it. Especially if you don't bring something to the table. Like Gervonta Davis is a certified KO artist. Ryan Garcia, he has that huge Instagram following. Teofimo, he's exciting, we know that, but he needs a good dance partner, you know, to really look good and get those eyeballs, you know, surrounding him, and to promote him for future fights. You know, there are a lot of big fights for Teofimo Lopez to make money. It's all a matter of him continuing to prove himself against credible opposition. And maybe this next fight, you know, on June 29th isn't the best step in the right direction, but if it means that Teo's got to stay active, then so be it. But I really do want to see Teo in there against the best, because I think he holds his own against a lot of these guys. I think he does have the ability to be the best at 140. It's all a matter of him, you know, implementing the right game plan and sticking to, you know, a strict regimen where he's focused and locked in, and, you know, his mental is clear, and it's as strong as it's ever been. Because a mentally locked in Teofimo Lopez, I'm not sure there's really anybody that could beat him. You know, even guys like Shakur, even guys like Devin, those are the tougher stylistic matchups for Teofimo Lopez, but I still give him a chance on his best night. You know, that's a big if, because sometimes we see Teo look not his best, and sometimes we see him look stellar. So we're going to need that stellar version of Teofimo Lopez when he's fighting guys like Devin, when he's fighting guys like Shakur, guys that are naturally boxers and defensively good fighters. You know, you could say whatever you guys want about Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. I think that was just more of a stylistic matchup where Ryan Garcia is taller, he's the more rangy and long fighter. So it was a tough matchup to begin with. If you take away all the resume stuff, you just look at it, you know, black and white. This guy's the taller one. He's the same age, but he's also longer. He has the stronger punch. He has the ability to crack. I think people just take too much away from, you know, when they analyze a fight, they look too much at the name and don't so much, you know, look at the facts. And the facts are that Ryan Garcia was just as young as Devin Haney was, as opposed to where Devin is used to fighting smaller guys. I'm not going to call him a weight bully, but he's big for the 135 weight division, where he was able to become undisputed. And, you know, once he ran into a guy that was his size, who was actually stronger than him, faster than him, and honestly more talented than him, Ryan Garcia took advantage and was able to beat Devin. So as good as Devin Haney is, I think stylistically Ryan Garcia just was a tough matchup for him. And I think, you know, against a guy like Teofimo Lopez, who's not as tall as Ryan Garcia, but he might be as physically strong and might be able to, you know, crack as strongly as Ryan Garcia. Teo could also do a lot of damage to a guy like Devin. So those are big fights for him. But, you know, obviously I'd love to see Teofimo Lopez fight guys that are naturally, you know, come forward fighters. They don't really like box. They're I'm not going to say that Shakur and Devin are afraid to get hit, but they know the game of, you know, hit and not get hit. And guys that fight with that mentality, it's going to be tough for Teo to compete with those guys, at least stylistically. I'm not saying that he can't beat them. I think he can. It's just, you know, in terms of, you know, opponents that are tailor-made for Teofimo, it's the come-forward fighters, guys like Subriel Matias, Ryan Garcia, Isak Cruz, and Rolly Romero. Those are great fights for Teo. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.
That's going to do it for another Naz Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.